Steppin Out is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
With a continued passion for public television, we are proud to underwrite Steppin Out.
Please join us in supporting WYES television.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out with updates from the local restaurant, arts, and entertainment scenes. Joining me, Ian McNulty, food writer for the Times-Picayune, the New Orleans Advocate, and Where You Eat commentator on WWNO Radio. Welcome back.
Thanks, Peggy.
You look fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
Fabulous.
So do you. Great to be here.
It's great to see you. And making his Steppin Out debut, artist Andrew LaMar Hopkins, who has a major, we're talking major, 75 exhibit coming very soon at the Cabildo, along with a gala fundraiser opening for his show. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank
it's very
you.
nice to have you with us.
It's wonderful to be
hello.
here.
And Alan Smason, editor of the Crescent City Jewish News and theatercriticism.com. And of course, Poppy will be back next week. But Ian, always nice to have some good news about an existing restaurant.
Yeah, that's right. This is a restaurant called Addis NOLA. It opened about a year before the COVID shut everything down and took everything upside down for restaurants. But it was off to a great start. And it's an Ethiopian restaurant, which we've had a couple around town. There are a couple places to get flavors like this around New Orleans. But Addis NOLA, from the beginning, it made a real impact. And part of it was the people involved. It's a family restaurant. It was a tiny little place, started off on Broad near Tulane, near the courthouse. And immediately to this tiny little place, it drew people from all over the city. Part of it was the flavors. And part of it really was the energy of the family behind it. The man at the helm here, the person you see the most walking in the door, is Prince Lobo. He's the son of the founders, and he greets the world with this gusto and this welcome and this pride in the heritage of the food that they're presenting. Yeah. And it makes it feel that even if Ethiopian food is new to you, which it is to plenty of people, you already feel like you're welcomed to the table by this energy, by this this greeting, by the spirit of the place. And I watched the place grow. I watched it survive, hang on through COVID. There's Prince Lobo right there. That is not a staged look, okay? That is exactly the way this man greets the morning and many visitors. I did not have to pose that at all. Prince is just like that. But through COVID, what they did was they made many collaborations with other businesses around the city. There was a focus on other Black-owned businesses to form bonds of unity and expression during really hard times for restaurants and with restaurants of all stripes across the city. And what they did was they built bridges, and they introduced a lot of people in different ways to what they're doing at Addis NOLA with their Ethiopian cooking. Well, now the good news, Peggy, is that they finally have a bigger stage where they can really roll out the hospitality and show what this is all about. So they moved Addis NOLA about a mile and change up the road to Bayou Road, which of course is that stretch of many small businesses, many Black-owned businesses. It's a real collection of that, and it's a very proud point for the people who are part of that community there. And for Addis NOLA, they're really, really psyched to be joining it and to be bringing what they can to contribute to the growth of that area. This is a building that's really a key. It's at this fulcrum of these streets that come together, and you know the history of Bayou Road runs as deep and longer than the history of New Orleans, back in the days when it was the portage between the river and the lake. So history is just baked into this area. You add the overlay of the culture that surrounds it with the small businesses, and then Addis NOLA is poised to really be a destination for people interested in a new dining experience, interested in connecting with the flavors of the homeland, as Prince Lobo would call it, that African cuisine, that Ethiopian flavor. And it's a beautiful new restaurant. It has a great bar. The bar program has been led by Turning Tables, which is a local nonprofit that's working to increase racial equity, particularly in the bar business, doing a wonderful wonderful job with that through education and mentorship
We
of
saw
rising
Tora
talent.
Folks' picture just now.
That's right, folks. That's right. He's taking care of the cocktails there. There are many of his on the opening list. But when it comes right down to it, Peggy, this restaurant is delicious. This is a restaurant where you eat with your hands. You know, the traditional Ethiopian style. You saw many of those photos. Starts off with the flatbread, the injera, which is a crepe-like flatbread, and that's your utensils. The food is served on it. You rip pieces of it off. You dredge it through the various meats and stews and vegetables. And the thing I love about it is the flavors are so rich and vibrant. You just can't stop but going for that next bite. Is it spicy? I get that question a lot about Ethiopian food. Some of the dishes are, but they'll warn you. Others are simply robustly flavored, and you can make them more spicy with the seasonings involved. But there's seafood here, there's a lot of meat dishes, and there's a lot for vegetarians and vegans. And now with its new home on Bayou Road, there's just so much more that they can show because it's a larger place. The decor and the design is meant to bring you to Ethiopia, to give you the colors of the landscape, the feel of the architecture. But most of all, it goes back to this family and their hospitality.
Truly a family affair.
And what they roll out there for you. Yeah, I feel better every time I go there, not just because of the good meal in my belly.
Ian, also, it's so nice. I mean, how many restaurants, and you're going to restaurants all the time, where you go and nobody says hello to you at the front door?
Not an issue here.
No, that's no small thing. I mean, I'm
Right.
glad to hear that the food's great.
Sure.
Okay. But there is something about, there's some restaurants we've been going to for years, and I'm not quite sure who's at the helm. I mean, I could do more research, but just in terms of somebody saying, hi, how y'all doing? Great to see you.
Well, you know, this is one of the things I really love about family-run restaurants. You know, and my heart goes out to all the people in the business who have had to deal with the struggles of a family-run business, because it's not easy when you're on your own. It's not easy when you're not part of a big corporation or group, especially with everything they had to go through with COVID. But the reason why I think these places are so valuable is that personal touch they put on them. When you feel the personality of the families, and it speaks to a bigger sense of community that runs through restaurants. Addis NOLA is just a picture of that all over.
All right, thank you so much, and we'll talk some more about food a little bit later. Andrew, congratulations.
Thank you.
It is no small thing to have on your resume. Let's see, recent article in the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, plus at this huge show at the Cabildo, at
Yes.
the Louisiana State Museum. We will be showing, of course, some of your artwork, but I love your attention to detail. Now, in one of the articles, you're called a folk artist. Is that what you call yourself?
That is what
You're
I call
self-taught.
myself because I am self-taught, and you know, my art can be a little, when you look at it, it's a little naive. Certain things are more three-dimensional, whereas other things are flat, and that was just kind of how I painted ever since I was very small. So I'm a folk artist.
Well, the other thing you are, though, is somebody who's interested in history.
Yes.
Because a lot of the detail that are in those works, and sometimes you're kind of having fun with it. Okay?
Absolutely.
And sometimes there are, more serious moments, too, with messages. But the colors, I mean, the very first, you're drawn by the vibrant colors.
People say that my color palette and paintings make them happy. And that's kind of, getting back to what I paint history. I moved to New Orleans in the early 90s from Mobile, Alabama, and was just fascinated with the architecture, the people, and the culture and history of this place. And kind of, I paint, people ask, what do you paint? I paint what was life like in Louisiana 200 years ago, mainly focused around free people of color, free blacks. We had a wonderful, prosperous collection of free blacks during the time of slavery that owned property, real estate, had businesses, built many buildings in the quarter, ironwork, and I kind of pay homage to those people through my art.
And this is so exciting because the gala, which is Louisiana State Museum Foundation's big event and raises money for the museums, is happening it's pretty close. It's coming up next Friday.
Yes.
Patron party, and folks are actually being urged to wear ball attire. It could be, is it empire or umpire?
It's French, both are correct.
Okay,
French
yes.
empire,
or ball, or regular ball
and,
attire.
black tie
That's
would be
fine.
accepted.
Now, you're using the word Creole, and we should point out historically, of course, that has come to be many meanings.
Yes, that is
So,
a word
for you-
that has evolved over the years, and In Louisiana, originally, you know, when the French first settled this area, the definition of Creole was the firstborn of the French people, the first generation born in Louisiana. Well, those people, the generations after, continued to call themselves Creoles, and we know by documentation by the 1720s, slaves started to be called Creoles.
So we're talking French, Spanish, and more recently now African.
Africans, yes.
It's a real mix.
And then a
and that's
mixture of
nuanced.
all those people, because people mixed in Louisiana.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I think it's beautiful. We made a wonderful gumbo of people here that I love to showcase in my art.
Okay. Well, I mean, you started humbly, okay, because,
Yes.
you know, I know that you worked at Laura Plantation,
Yes.
and God bless Norman Marmion.
I
I'm
know,
so
who
sorry to
recently-
hear
he
that
was my first employer.
He has was killed in a tragic accident.
Yes.
So there's some historical knowledge that you're gaining over the years, and then the 1850 house.
Yes.
So really, along the way, this was kind of evolving, but you've painted since you're a teenager?
No, since I was probably 6.
Oh, okay.
You know how children start
Yeah.
with, you know, watercolors and Play-Doh, and you know that was my happy place. Growing up in Mobile was painting antiques, painting old buildings, painting historical people in costumes. I was always fascinated with that, and it's so this exhibit will include 75 of my paintings from collectors from all over America. And along with these paintings will be decorative arts, furniture from the state museums showcased along with the paintings.
Well, you are, I think, are pretty confirmed. I know you go back and forth to other cities, but your heart is in New Orleans.
It
these
is in
days.
New Orleans and in the French Quarter.
That means so
There's
much.
no place like it.
Now, where do you work? In your apartment? Do you
So
have a studio?
I live, my studio is where I live, and I love being able to wake up and walk a few feet away and paint. So, yes.
I love that.
In the quarter.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Then we'll
Thank
talk
you.
some more about it.
Okay.
But moving over to Alan.
So interesting. You've got
It
somebody here
is.
who has a palate for taste and another has artistic palate.
Thank you, Alan.
So last night, Peggy, and you were there too, I had the opportunity to have a glimpse into the past and a view towards the future. Expressions of America. It's a new immersive light and sound show, an experience, if you will, that's taking place at the National World War II Museum. And right now, I want to show you a picture of Jake Wynn Wilson. You may remember him. He's the incredible MC in Rivertown's Cabaret earlier this year. He's part of a group of actors who will inform the public about what's going on with this exhibit. It's composed of actual letters and war correspondence in the field and at home, and all about the volunteers during the war. Actor Gary Sinise narrates his powerful series of images and cutting-edge technology with the authentic music recorded right here in New Orleans at the Esplanade Studios by the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. And there's also a lot of different features you're going to see with this on the sides of the buildings. It's just really beautiful to see. I suggest you check out this amazing collaboration with the Solomon Group, Mousetrap, and the World War II Museum, Expressions of America, going on 3 times a week starting up this week. So you'll be able to check it out. And again, if they have a problem with the inclement weather, they will make that up.
May I just say how nice there is this long time now collaboration with the Bob and Dolores Hope Foundation.
Yes.
And so in that interactive, you hear quotes of people, reminiscences, of course, of World War II. I think a lot of them are local veterans, but also Bob Hope. And he's
Yes.
talking about entertaining for the
He's
troops.
right there.
I
Yeah.
get excited. I still
Yeah.
get excited to hear Bob Hope. You know?
I was lucky to see him at the at the 1984 World's Fair we had here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Well, moving from an outside venue, which is an immersive one, to an inside one, the Family Line, which is Goat in the Road's latest production, I am proud to say, has been extended for another 3 weeks. The show currently being held in the courtyard and in the downstairs quarters of the Beauregard Kai's house in the French Quarter. Really boasts a talented ensemble of actors, and you can see all of them now in their period costumes. The show's officially sold
Great
out all of its
photos.
dates, but they went for another 3 weeks. And again, these photos of these actors have information on the back to tell you about the characters who are really basing their performances on historical information gleaned from the 1892 strike that struck during the citywide strike that they had. I'm not sure if you want to find out more information about that. Go see this production. A word of the wise, get tickets now because the other one sold out. Go ahead.
Alan, a quick question. Okay, so in terms of the audience, okay, so they are moving around different rooms
Correct.
at Borg Archives?
Correct.
Okay, so if somebody, though, can't stand up real long, are there chairs? Tell me about how that
there
works.
are benches where you can sit in every particular
'cause that's kind of
venue.
important.
If you can't stand, I like to stand because then you're right next to the actors and you're not getting in their way, et cetera. When you're sitting, it's sort of like, you feel more passive. When you're standing, you really feel like you're part of the action because you're right at their eye level and they're talking to each other. It really is an amazing experience. So I really recommend everybody check that out. And get your tickets now because this is amazing work by directors Rishon May and Chris Kamenstein. Again, only for another 3 weeks now after that, and we don't know if they're going to extend after that. We'll see. Now, next weekend also brings the New Orleans Opera to mind because that's going to be Engelbert Humperdinck's masterpiece, Hansel and Gretel. And here are some really beautiful pieces Eric Teague did for the opera, the designs that he did of the costumes, and also Stephen Kemp will render the set designs. Here's the witch's costume, if you can check that out. And look at that, amazing work. And now here's Chauncey Parker in the role of the witch. She gets a chance to be there on next Friday and again on next Sunday afternoon. Hansel and Gretel is going to be done in English with English subtitles because sometimes, Peggy, it's difficult to understand English. JPAS, by the way, did a very nice job with Deathtrap, if you remember, earlier in the year in Westwego. Well, if you didn't see it on the North Shore, perhaps you want to see it. This particular play by Ira Levin will be actually on the North Shore at 30 by 90 Theater in Mandeville. It runs this weekend, and you can get tickets on their website. And also, we wanted to take a look at some of the things that are going on at the college level. Sal Menino has been directing a student musical by Kate Kerrigan and Bree Loudermilk. This is called The Mad Ones, and it's really about two girls who attempt to find their way in life with certain consequences. There's some surprisingly beautiful music, including a haunting ballad, Run Away With Me. I really recommend you all go to this. It plays Friday and Saturday nights, and then next Wednesday through Saturday. That's The Mad Ones at Loyola University Lower Depths Theater. Meanwhile, across town at University of New Orleans, guess what? They have Is God Is. We already talked about that last week, but they have a reading of a new play that's done by Fernando Rivera. This is a play that he's written called Ants and Magnolias, and it's set here locally at a local Catholic school with a love triangle between two boys and a girl. So, there's a lot going on there. See it on Sunday right after Is God Is, and that'll be around 4:30. And as always, I like to talk about who the guests are in Seth Rudetsky's show, his concert series. The original star of Annie, Andrea McArdle. You can see that she has not only still a lovely voice, but she's grown into a gorgeous woman. You can catch her and Seth on Sunday at 7 p.m., but then a new show was just added for Monday night at 7 o'clock. You can see Sis. Sis is a trans actor who famously was on the road for the national tour of Oklahoma. She did the Ado Annie role. And so you can just imagine what she's going to do on the show. And this is similar to what Alex Newell did in Once on This Island as a trans actor taking on a role of a woman that would normally be cast for a woman. So again, I'm hoping to catch both shows on Sunday and Monday at 7 o'clock.
Not to sound like a broken record, but the Seth concert series. I watched Javi Munoz last week.
Javier, yeah.
Oh my gosh, an hour and a half, and this is of course the person who replaced Mr. Miranda in Hamilton, and is so brilliant on his own. Yeah. But that is a deal. For $25, you get an hour and a half concert with Seth and his guest, and Andrea McArdle.
Oh yeah, she's gonna be great. As a kid growing up, I was a little bit out of college at that time, but I loved Annie. I used to listen to it all the time, and I was so upset when they cut NYC from the movie. We won't talk about that.
Okay, thank you very much, Alan. And we're going to start into our picks, but first a quick WYES note. In conjunction with Second Harvest Food Bank and the Lakeview Civic Improvement Association, WYES will host a food drive. That's next Monday through Wednesday. Drop off non-perishables at the station, and of course you look at the list. There's a lot of list there. But anyway, that's 916 Navarre Avenue. Go to WYES.org for details. The Friends of the New Orleans Public Library are having a really, really big book sale Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. on the porch, the very elegant porch of the Ladder Library on St. Charles Avenue. If you are a member of the Friends of the Library, you can actually get an hour earlier. They have smaller sales on a regular basis and some online sales too. So go to friendsofnola.org for details. The Piety Market at Beanlandia, I should say, takes place this Saturday. Art, vintage clothing, food, music, many booths. The event is now at the Beanlandia Community Center. That's the Red Beans, the crew of Red Beans. It's at the corner of Piety and Royal. The building used to be a furniture warehouse. It's by Braccio. By the way, check out the Piety Market Facebook page. Visit the working studios of over 30, count them, 30 local painters, photographers, sculptors, and screen printers. After a 2-year hiatus, the Mid-City Art Studio open house will take place. That's the exterior. It used to be a printing plant. And this is Saturday, on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that's in Mid-City at the corner of Toulouse and North Murat. Go to midcityartstudios.com for a complete list of the artists. Now, picks, Ian.
Well, my favorite restaurant, Mexican restaurant that I've been to in a long time, is in Metairie. It's La Tia Cantina, and it's got the familiar dishes, your tacos, your burritos, but also dishes that really delve deep into regional Mexican cooking. You see right there, that's the shrimp aguachile. It's sort of like a ceviche before it can get to a ceviche, and then carnitas dumplings with a mole sauce, and great cocktails. So this is on West Esplanade in Metairie. Really broad menu that also shows a lot of depth of regional Mexican cooking, and they're doing great stuff there.
All right. Now, Andrew, there is another event that you are very involved in with the Louisiana State Museum.
Yes,
Tell us
absolutely.
about that.
So Sunday, November 20th, is Desiree's Tea, or the French word goûter for
Now,
tea.
explain, who is that beautiful person?
That is me. That's my alter ego, and she is a proper 1950s Creole woman. And so Desiree will be hosting the tea, and it's a wonderful event. There's going to be entertainment, wonderful food, and the tickets are like $50.
That
so
is a
you
deal.
can't
And
beat
Gladney,
that.
I understand,
From 2
is
to 4
playing.
o'clock.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, fun. And we should point out the world is so small because you are featured in Poppy Tooker's
Yes.
Drag Queen Cookbook. So there you go. There you go. But you also have a pretty active, I noticed, Pinterest account.
Well,
And some
yes.
1950s suggested dresses from the 50s, vintage.
Inspiration for
Very
Desiree.
inspiration for Desiree. How'd you come up with the name?
So one of my good friends who was an early drag queen in New Orleans in the 50s and 60s, Frank Fasulo, he named Desiree because he said that means desire. It's a play on words. Josephine, my middle name, is from Josephine Baker, and then DePonche is one of my favorite Louisiana last names. So that's how that all came about.
Okay, good. And backing up about the Founders Ball, speaking of music, I understand that Virtuosa is playing. And if you've never seen Virtuosa, they actually have performed on Steppin Out with these wonderful ladies in very period costume with electric violins.
Yes.
Beautiful
Bringing
music.
that period up to the 21st century.
Yeah, so much fun. Mr. Allen.
Well, I wanted to show a picture right now. That's the guest conductor, Vinay Parmesan, who is going to be leading the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra in their performance of the Dvorak Symphony No. 8 in New Orleans tomorrow in the morning in the rehearsal, and then there are $10 tickets for that, but then, of course, at the Orpheum Theater tomorrow night. But for those on the North Shore, if you miss the concert, that's going to be on Friday, check out Saturday night at Covington High School, and you'll be able to see the same exact program there. And Peggy, I'll see you at the theater.
All right. And to complete my last 2 picks for an experience of being in the woods, and not into the woods, like Stephen Sondheim, there is the Forestival. I love that. On Saturday, a day of arts, foods, and music at the Studio in the Woods. That's in Lower Algiers. It's on Patterson Street. It's the one day of the year that the studio is actually open to the public. It's beautiful. Normally, it's a retreat for artists and scholars. Dr. Michael White spent some time there. Visit a studiointhewoods.org for their website and find out all about it. Finally, check out our 3 Rivers Art Festival. It's on North Columbia Street. It takes over quite a few blocks in downtown Covington this weekend. Over 200 artists. What an artistic weekend we have, including Peg Usner. I'm a big fan. Covington, 3riversfestival.com. for more information. And back to Ian. Ian, you have a show and tell.
I do. I happen to have here in my pocket a Hugh Biggs pie.
Okay, let's get a tight shot of this. Yay! Woo-hoo. After what, 10 years?
This is a lemon variety. They're making lemon and apple right now, and the reception has been euphoric. People have been lining up at stores. The production has been a little sporadic. They're just getting going. They're getting the gears turning. So even though New Orleans has waited 10 years to get its pies back, its Hugh Biggs pies, there's a lot of pent-up hunger for them. It might take a little more patience until they have full production roaring again. But for now, yes, they've been in the markets. They've been selling out very, very quickly
So
after
Rouse's
they get in.
for sure, uptown?
This is I got
far
these
as you
bad
know.
boys at Rouse's. Yes, no, they should be distributing to all the major grocery stores, the chains and the independents around town. But I can't stress enough. Right now, it is sort of day to day on when the pies are going to be there, if the pies are going to be there. So, if you find some, get one for me.
Well, they had a soft opening, if you will, which you reported about. They were in the Whitney parking lot right near the Poor Boy Festival.
Whitney Hancock Bank.
And people went gaga?
A surprise pop-up. Peggy, I saw people running off the streetcar that was stopping outside. The streetcar driver saying, "Get me 2 apples." People who thought all they were going to do that day was eat po' boys started the morning with handfuls of Hugh Biggs pies. And it was really wonderful to see New Orleans people engaging again in this very New Orleans thing. All walks of life stopped in their tracks to come in and get a Hugh Biggs pie again. So this was terrific. And this one, Peggy, is for you, by the way.
Oh, my goodness. This is gold. This is gold. Thank you so much. And since you're in the chair, holiday dining, real quick, any suggestions coming up?
Get your reservations in now. Last year was really off. Staffing was a big deal for restaurants last year. They had really limited availability. This year, I'm hearing it's a lot closer to what we used to call normal. I don't know what we call it anymore. But it's going to be a good year for dining, for your holiday traditions to come back. But if you haven't made arrangements already, now's the time to do so. The big restaurants, the restaurants in hotels, they have kind of cornered the Thanksgiving and the holiday dining market, of course, the bigger operations. And many of them also do prepared meals for takeout. I can tell you, for instance, the Dickie Brennan Restaurant Group, they have the Commissary now, which is up and running, which is their commissary kitchen that doubles as a market and a cafe and a bar, just saying, where they do a lot of great takeout. You get a lot of the dishes that they make for the restaurants through there. They've got special Thanksgiving menus, of course. But even down to something like a mom and pop. We're talking about mom and pop restaurants. Brightson's in the River Bend, they always do a lot of great takeout and prepared foods for the holidays. So just remember your favorite restaurant and look them up. There's a chance they got something special going on.
Well, great advice. And thank you, Andrew. Once again, welcome to our table.
Thank
we hope
you.
to have you
This
back.
has been a pleasure.
Of course. And thank you so much, Alan. And thank you very much for watching. Good night.
Steppin' Out is made possible in part by Susie and Pierre G. Villery.
With a continued passion for public television, we are proud to underwrite Steppin' Out.
Please join us in supporting WYES television.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation promotes, preserves, and perpetuates music, culture, and heritage through programs, cultural, educational, and economic activities year-round. Learn more at jazzandheritage.org.